Hey peeps, CGMK here, and welcome to another episode. Well, yeah, a little bit of a mess here, but yeah, you're probably wondering, why do I look as if I'm moving out? Rest assured, I'm not anytime soon yet. I just packed everything because tomorrow we're going to be painting in here. So I know it's been a while since I've filmed in this room, but it's pretty much going to be the last time it's going to be this color. So by the time the next video comes around, it's pretty much going to be an entirely different color. So look forward to that. But in the meantime, I've been thinking about this for quite some time. Ever since the quarantine started, even before the quarantine started, I've been thinking about this for quite a while, but it wasn't really until the quarantine, funnily enough, that I could finally get the term of what I seem to be observing. And it's something that I experienced during Captain Picard Day, during the Star Trek United Marathon. I'm actually doing a blog post about this, so if you're curious about it, check out my blog. mahokunoichi.blogspot.com. I'm gonna be posting it sometime maybe like tomorrow or Tuesday. But yeah, I got a blog post all about that marathon, and some of the picks, how they actually could have been a little bit better, especially the DS9 front, which actually connects to today's topic. So yeah, grab your cup of tea or your preferred beverage and some cookies or whatever preferred snack you have, and let's get into this interesting topic. So, we want to talk about hyperrealism in media. This is rose tea. I highly recommend it. It's so good. I know it's not Monday, but still, any day is a good day for tea. As long as you don't spill it. Well, you don't literally spill it. And part of me's from Britain, so if we don't spill tea, we drink it. Should have to pay Paige for that one, but anyway. I watch drama channels. I'm not ashamed of it. But let's just jump right into it. So hyperrealism in media. So to kind of roll back a little bit as to what kind of started this conversation is the fact that I've noticed in a lot of Twitter circles, so Twitter is not exactly the best place to get your research, but it seems to be a common thing on Twitter and some social media sites that in some social media sites as well, that there seems to be like this weird stratification where they're trying to go for quote unquote apolitical media. Let's be honest, no media is really apolitical, not even children's media, let's be frank here. And hyperrealism at the same time. Like they're trying to be realistic in their standards, realistic in their interpretation or portrayal, yet they also want to keep it as neutral as possible. Like, how does that even work? But more so in particular, they seem to slam a lot of... They seem to slam very heavily on fantastical elements or anything that's like a non-scientific form. It seems to be slapped in the face pretty heavily. It's shown pretty much obviously in our awards ceremonies, like which films get nominated for the big awards versus which just get nominated for visual and sound effects, which are not any less important, but it just goes to show like how much assumptions we've had compared to maybe like 50 years ago, where some of those movies actually had a fighting chance in the bigger awards season. Stuff like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Things that would have been massive a few years ago, nowadays it's just boiled down to visual and sound effects territory. Why is that? And then I feel like I kind of partially got my answer with the Star Trek marathon. So I followed along with the Star Trek marathon on Twitch. CBS All Access made a Twitch channel just for that marathon on the 7th, which happened the 17th. So it was a few days ago. But in case you're curious about the episodes that were actually broadcast, they are still available on Pluto TV and CBS All Access for those who want to watch. The original series, at least from Enterprise to Voyager. I'm going by timeline. I'm going by chronological order with that description here. Enterprise to Voyager, they're all free. You can watch it on Amazon Prime or Netflix or Hulu. Like whatever platform you come across, it's there. Just we can go ahead and watch it, like no problem. Discovery and Picard, however, you have to have CBS All Access, at least in the US, in order to watch it. Everywhere else, you basically have to you basically only need like Amazon Prime, really. So if you don't have money for CBS All Access, get a VPN, watch it that way. But yeah, so I watched the marathon during during Captain Picard Day, and there was a big drought of DS9 episodes. Plot twist, they only picked one DS9 episode. It was a significant one in television and present-day history. Of course, there were a lot more episodes they could have included, which I will write a list of them in the next blog post that I do, but they only showed one DS9 episode out of 15. They showed, I think, 2 or 3 TOS episodes. Yeah, it was 3 TOS episodes. They showed, I believe, two TNG episodes, 2 Voyager episodes, 3 Picard episodes, and 1 Discovery episode. Discovery got the short end of the stick too, but DS9 really should have been the dominant category considering all the things that are happening right now. But DS9 only got 1 episode, which felt really strange. Granted, the episode they picked was the most politically relevant one, and sadly is a very common thing today, which is people trying to destroy a very, very progressive idea. And the thing is, you can't really destroy an ideology, especially once it gets out there. So they do the next worst thing, which is trying to prevent that idea from getting out there in the first place. And I've heard stuff on Twitter. I think one creator, in fact, I followed, she literally had a stroke because she was unacknowledged in her writing room. Like, that's how big this bias this kind of bias can go. This is how deep it can go. And there's even a couple of creators that I followed that didn't even get first credits on the episodes they had written or they had edited themselves. Like, they had done the work of first credits, they have the experience of first credits, but they don't get them. Why is that? It makes no sense. And so I feel like this is why fantasy is very necessary, because it helps us think about the things that us humans are not necessarily ready to take on head on. That's the valuable thing about sci-fi and fantasy, is that you can take on things in that medium, in that space, that you can't exactly take on head on at first. You have to let people accept the idea hypothetically before people can accept the idea realistically. I mean, even if people come across it realistically, you know how stubborn humans are to change. So even if it's like common sense to you, it seems like Mount Everest to somebody else. So I feel like that's where our media, our fiction, absolutely comes in. And that's why representation matters in fiction and in media, because these are the people you're ultimately are going to serve. This is the population's ultimately going to increase in the next few years. So you got to pay attention to what the grievances are, and talk about the solutions, or talk about the possible solutions or the possible obstacles you're going to come across in these shows. Now, where I come across like the hyperrealism debate is in particular when to get back to the marathon thing. When we were talking about DS9, I kind of consider DS9 to be the most politically blunt of the series, followed by TNG and Voyager. Voyager, like that one was more based on survival, so that makes more sense why the political stuff won't necessarily be in the focus, even though there was a little focus in the first 2 seasons. But ultimately, the big thing was just getting back to Earth. So it's understandable why they wouldn't go for the political angle too often, versus things like Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. They are very political. They do not shy away from it at all. Like, they are very blunt and very precise about what points they want to get across. Say what you want about some of the producers on there. Berman. Where did that come from? Say what you want about some of the producers on the show. DS9 was very politically blunt. Like, it did not shy away from the hard stuff at all. I mean, I think it also helped that it was in a space station, and a formerly colonized Cardassian Bajoran space station at that. They used to be a mining vessel, but now turned into a place of intergalactic commerce. Because without that, I don't think it would have been as hard hitting as it could have been. Just having it happen in one space, in this one region, in that one moment. You can explore so much in one spot. And I think DS9 just proved that you can do so much in one location. There's supposed to start talking about, like, seeking out new life and new civilizations, searching out. While you're searching out, what's happening back at home? Like, what are affairs in the planets within the Federation that still need to be settled? Because the Federation does have its enemies. The Federation does have its internal struggles. Whether it's just with the humans or just with the planets in general. I mean, in fact, the theoretical plot that was supposed to happen after Voyager was actually supposed to cover the increasing tension between the Federation and the Federation and the Klingons, because the show was like seemed to be hinting at that direction, especially the way Kahless and Gowron kind of went around, and the Duras sisters and all that kind of thing. That seemed to be implying that was going to be the next intergalactic conflict, if Axanar wasn't the big conflict centuries earlier. So yeah, like that seemed to be the implication for the future series. So I talked about this. Like, I talked about DS9 being very politically blunt. It did not hold back any punches at all whatsoever in the things that we're talking about, from police brutality to racism, to silence, to colonization, to recovery, to poverty, to mass social consequence, essentially. DS9 did not hold back. It has its flaws, but in a lot of ways, it did not hold back on the message it was trying to show, is that we cannot deny human empathy. We cannot deny people the right to exist just because they're different from us. And, oh yeah, it even talked about debates of religion. Like, just the Bajoran religion of itself, from its education to its fundamental beliefs. Like, it did not shy away from that at all. Like, it's like, I would love, if somebody hasn't done so already, I would love to write a thesis about how religion is illustrated in Deep Space Nine. Like, I would totally love to make a paper about that. Like, it's so interesting. But funnily enough, that was the main critiquing point of Deep Space Nine, apparently. A lot of people were critiquing the religious aspect of Deep Space Nine as being too fantastical. Like, what? I mean, I get the orbs. The orbs are kind of confusing. But that was a critical debate in Deep Space Nine, was theology. And they're calling that fantastical, and therefore not valid. Going off the deep end. I wish I had recorded some of those. I wish I had, like, screen grabbed some of the commentary that was happening, but like people were slamming Deep Space Nine precisely for their the way that they looked upon religion. They thought it was going way too off the deep end. I brought this up with some of my language partners. I'm taking Japanese right now as a little side project, but I talked about this with some of my language partners. They're like, "What? I thought DJ Now was like the most politically progressive channel show out of all of them. Like they were blunt about everything. And that's precisely it's like I mean it just made me think, did we see the same show? But then I kind of thought about it more deeply beyond Star Trek United, and then I realized that this is a trend overall when it came to entire media that's been happening right now, which is this obsession over hyperrealism, how it always has to connect to the real world, otherwise it's not valid. You can't escape, otherwise it's not valid. It's probably more so an American phenomenon in particular. I don't know about internationally. Please comment below. Any international viewers, are you noticing the same thing? But there's always this concentration of being as realistic as possible. I mean, it's happening from our plots to even our graphics. I mean, look at how fast video game graphics have improved significantly over the years. I mean, I can even think easily like between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 versus 3. 1 and 2 definitely had its anime roots. It definitely connects down to Tetsuya Nomura's hand drawing style. And then it felt like the moment the Unreal Engine kicked in, it just went hyper realistic to the wazoo. I mean, those water effects, like, oh my goodness. Like, in Thebes in particular, my mind was blown when I first saw that. And all the fire and the rocks and stuff. It's cool, but it felt uncanny in a few places. Not gonna lie. So, yeah. I don't know why we're so focused on trying to keep everything hyper realistic when it's just fine as is. Just let it go the extreme route. Let it go as far as it could be. So that way we can actually think about if it got to that worst case scenario, if it got to that ridiculous point, which considering all we've experienced in the last 4 years, it totally can get to that point. What do we do? Here are some theories you can play around with. That's what these things are for. And even if you're not that analytical, at bare minimum, it's basically a playground. Just it's an imagination free for all. Let your imagination roam free. It's not a bad thing. And yet we treat it like it is. It's really weird. And it is, once again, it especially came to mind with the critiques of musicals becoming film, which I think is still possible. Like, live action musicals are still possible. I think it just needs more passion and the acceptance of the fact that it has to be fantastical. I think the reason why a lot of the recent musical films have been failing, like Cats and, well, Les Mis, not really. It did pretty well to the point where it got a different Oscar. But I feel like those adaptations fail because they were trying to be hyper realistic when the story and the premise is begging to be anything but realistic. It's begging to be played with. It's begging to be stretched out to a significant degree. And I mean, granted, there's DC live action musicals that did allow the fantastical nature, but there were parts where it was obvious that it was a cash grab, and other parts where the additions made sense, but they weren't executed with the heart of the original. I mean, you can't replicate heart, per se, let's be honest here, but at bare minimum, some dedication has to be made. I'm gonna say it right there. But to roll back a little bit to the hyperrealism thing, it's kind of the same critique that I've been seeing, like saying, like, well, I said musicals earlier. Another critique that I've been getting about hyperrealism, not just hyperrealism, but like just not being taken seriously in general, is how most of us are getting our news from comedians. Well, I've been getting news from comedians. I don't know about you guys. Again, please comment. But millions of views about like news events are coming from comedians. And I may need to like dig up a few papers or a few news videos or articles. But the reason why comedians are often reached out for the news nowadays is because they're able to get the news out there. They can be blunt about the news, but in a very comedic way, in a refreshingly blunt way. It's like it's the deliver's kind of sidewinding, but it's very straightforward. Versus reporters have to follow a code of decorum. They have to follow a set of rules, which means no matter how frustrated they are, no matter how much they want to correct the person, no matter how much they want to interrupt the falsehoods that are out there, they basically can't because of the codes of decorum and the fact they'll lose their livelihoods because of it. And so, and they'll be, even if they didn't, they would still be considered rude. People would turn off their screens and walk away. Versus comedians, they can be as direct as possible. They can be on top of it. They have entire teams by their sides, and they can just go straight at it. They can go straight to the point. And because it's a personality up there rather than an objective witness, they can be more emotive than the average reporter out there. I kind of see it as the equivalent of the medieval court jester or the Tudor court jester, where the court jester basically is able to tell the king in the most straightforward terms what the people actually think of him, the scandals going around the palace, relationships, intrigues, etc. He could tell them in the most comedic manner, and yet he can be blunt with his comedy. Versus anybody else trying to tell him the exact same thing, they most likely lose their head, or worse. So I find comedians to be the public's court jester. They're, once again, like sci-fi and fantasy, they're able to tell us the things that if we tried to process them straightforwardly, we would roil back, or fight back, or wouldn't accept it as true. Kind of like Instagram. Pixar didn't happen. Even though I don't even have Instagram. Kind of like Pixar didn't happen, or tweet or it didn't happen, or fill in the blank. Just whatever recorded proof you have, or it didn't happen. Just long story short, realism does have its place, but especially if we're trying to act on a solution that will save our lives. But unfortunately, this hyperrealism that we're putting through is literally killing us. It's not as sweet as Lauryn Hill. It is doing it softly, but it is killing us. So, to my fellow nerds out there, my fellow media fans, all I'm gonna say is this: take it easy. Lighten up. It's okay to play around with your imagination. It's okay to escape for a little bit, to forget about all of the ridiculous boxes we have to walk around every single day. Embrace it. And especially to my fellow POCs, we know this too well. We carry our boxes every single day. From the moment we get out of our houses and go to work, and we have to put those fronts up to make sure we don't sink to every single insult they throw at us, to when we get back home to show our families that we can survive. We can survive this life even though all we want to do is thrive. These TV shows, these fantasies, these comics, fill in the blank, whatever. That's our permission slip to take those boxes off and go someplace else. If you've been gaming during this period, this is for everybody now. if you've been gaming during this period, if you've been reading during this period, if you've been doing whatever it takes to basically just give yourself a break from like the world's chaos for a day, it's totally acceptable. If you didn't get a permission slip before, like in the beginning of the quarantine, you're getting one now in the beginning of the summer solstice. This is summer solstice, this is a new moon, clean slate. Here you go. Go play. Go draw. Go do whatever. Do whatever it takes to keep your inner child alive. Because believe it or not, those kid parts are still there. And we need to treat them well. And hyperrealism is not the way to go. You need a balance. Everything in moderation. There is a middle path. And you find your own. I'm still finding my own. I'm still finding the ways to find more humor in my life. To laugh more. And I'm having a lot of fun so far. I'm learning how to have more fun. I'm drinking tea. I'm talking with my parents. I'm watching movies. As often as I can fit them in. I watched the first half of Midsommar last night. I'm going to finish the last half probably tonight or tomorrow. I actually got my first client on my Fiverr shop, so hooray. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep you anonymous here, but thank you so much for that. So I'm officially a Fiverr seller now, so this is awesome. So I hope the reading that I do for you helps, because this was a pretty interesting one to do. It was great. I'm finding little reasons to hope again. And tomorrow, these walls are going to be a totally different color. It's going to feel really weird, but at the same time, I'm excited. Like, I'm excited for the change. Obviously, there's going to be more change to come, but this is one of many. So, please, you guys, take it easy, ease up, live a little, laugh a little, take notes from our elders. Don't give a damn on so many things. Focus more on improving life where you can. Call out your congressmen. Call your senators. Call your mayors, your governors. Believe it or not, you can make a difference. All you need, like, my friend said this, no joke. I don't know how it is in other states, but, like, here in my small state of Delaware, all you need is 10 people to comment on the exact same issue, and they'll bring it up. No joke. Just get a group of 10 people, comment on an issue or a bunch of issues. Like, just pick up the phone, because, like, they'll pay attention more to the phone than the email. Let's be honest here, because the emails are going to be flooded at this point, thanks to COVID. But go to your phone, call your office, and say, here's the list of grievances. And it doesn't matter if it's the same 10 people. As long as you talk about the problems that you need them to address, if you get them repeated over and over, they'll get stuff done. So don't lay off. Protest. If you're not able to do it in person, do it on your video. If you can't do it on video, do it via open letter. I found out there's an open letter from my former university, or former universities, to their colleges to basically revise their diversity policies to be more accepting of more people. That's amazing. And both universities actually acknowledged it, which is great. Because I thought for a while they weren't, but they are. And this is why fantasy is so important, because then we can make those amazing fantasies into reality. I mean, without Star Trek, I don't think the moon landing or some of those International Space Station ideas would have happened. Or even the tractor beam, which last I heard was almost perfected. Or even SpaceX. Come on, SpaceX. Or the VSS Enterprise. The space plane. Just, there's so many things that would not have happened without fiction. I mean, come on. The laptop and the tablet or the phone that you're looking at, the inspiration for all those things, they came from Star Trek. Those are all from Star Trek. So, thank fiction for that. Bluetooth, probably inspired by Star Trek. I mean, granted, there's also a female inventor too that also helped. Thank you. But I think it was Hedy Lamarr. Thank you, Hedy Lamarr. Also, there's another Swedish scientist, I believe. But like, there's like a series of people. But thank you to all those people. A lot of it as well. Those people just had the leap of faith to get the technology, and then the fiction just took it a step further. So, thank your fiction authors, because without them, we wouldn't have the first steps to a lot of this tech in the first place. So there you go. That's the benefits of all these. The benefits of being able to imagine, being able to dream. They're countless. So don't let realism bog you down. Step into the fantasy once in a while. You might come up with some alternative career that fits you better. Looking at you, INFPs. Like, if the square job doesn't do it for you, chances are you could probably negotiate a new position entirely. You never know. You could create a career path that opens doors for a lot more people in addition to yourself. You could even find a cure with imagination. There's so much you can do. So please, for the love of all that is holy, especially schools, please do not discount the arts or imagination. They are much needed in this world today. And to kind of close off, there was a TED Talk that was shown on Radiolab, WNYC, or an NPR, and it talked about how the reason why America and some other nations feel like they're failing is because humans naturally have a narrative structure. And so far, we're in the middle of a huge rewrite. Because right now, the final draft of the last rewrite was America being in a downward spiral, America being a downward turn. We haven't described exactly how the recovery and how the subsequent possible utopia could happen. And we're in the middle of that revision right now with this protest. With these protests, with these discussions, with these possible solutions, which should be common sense, which should be a given, which should already be executed right now, but people keep on thinking like it's not possible with its current system. And it's only in a dire situation do we finally think, oh wait, this is possible. Can't we do this stuff before things get bad? And this is the time. This is the time to basically rewrite the story. That we don't have to wait for a disaster like COVID or tragedies like George Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Amadou Diallo, and Breonna Taylor to be able to revise laws that keep us safe. It shouldn't take that. A lot of these sci-fi and fantasy stories cover those worst case scenarios already, and the solution is right there. Why do we have to wait for a real world tragedy to get the solution done? Enough is enough. And that's why I say, to hell with hyperrealism. Use your fantasies to make it into a reality that helps everybody. And I feel like I'm going in circles. This is the consequence of not scripting my videos, but this just came to mind. And also, I wanted to make one last video in here before everything gets painted up, because tomorrow morning. This is when this all goes away, and I wanted to commemorate it somehow. So, please, guys, take it easy on yourselves. If you need to take a break from social media or even just TV in general for a little bit, don't blame yourselves. Like, I was planning on making this sabbatical from Twitter just for Saturday, it turned into a Sunday thing as well. So if you need to take a Twitter sabbatical for a day or two, it's totally fine. Or just a social media sabbatical in general. It's totally fine. Or if you're just focusing on entertainment channels, like for me right now, I'm watching a lot of like anime voice actors. Totally fine. So take it easy on yourselves if you're not completely productive, especially now that it is the beautiful summer time. So go play, go relax. Stuff will still be here when you come back. So anyway, I'm gonna end it here. Gonna probably do a video game video, a gaming video tomorrow. I promised you Cinderella Phenomenon. I will give you Cinderella Phenomenon. I will also give you more Prince of Persia. I believe we stopped at another unknown spot. So we will finish that up in a bit. But in the meantime, here's all my social media. In case you want to check out my stuff. I will also do a live stream at some point. I haven't done it in a while. myokinoichi.blogspot.com, which is my blog, my Fiverr page. I got my first client today. It's exciting. So my first client, like, you'll get my order tomorrow. So look forward to that. And I also accept donations on my coffee page. In terms of events, the summer solstice is already passed. So after tomorrow, the Earth code will no longer be good, but the blackout code will be good for the entirety of the entirety of this year. So if you use blackout at any time, it will be taken. It will give you a supplemental archetype, which will be a Sailor Moon character for spiritual listings and a goddess or angel for nerdy listings. And of course, I will go to the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair, which will have steep discounts well, not steep, but like a pretty good discount for those who show up in costume, though I find that it's better to actually pre-order the tickets. And of course, I will finally finish Cinderella Phenomenon, which no doubt will be a bad ending again, and then I will go through the good ending this time, because I've tried so many times to get the good ending. I feel like near the end is where I seem to fall apart. But anyway, take it easy, everybody. Stay safe. Stay hydrated, especially now. It was 91 today, and I biked 11 miles. Can you believe it? But yeah, take it easy, stay safe, remember to wear your mask in public, and remember to vote. And most importantly, may your heart be your guiding key. Take care, everybody. Bye. This rose tea is so good. Bye.